Armand had been living a quiet and heavy life for the past 2 years. At 43, he felt much older than his age. The loss of his wife had left a deep emptiness that no amount of work or distraction could fill. He tried to survive each day by keeping himself busy. He worked long hours at a small mechanic shop, fixing engines, checking fuel lines, cleaning tools, and helping customers who came and went without noticing how tired his eyes looked. People knew him as a kind man, calm and patient. But no one really knew the silence he carried inside. Every evening, Armand walked home from the shop, usually with oil stains on his hands and dust on his clothes. He often stopped at a small tea stall on the corner to drink 1 cup of tea before going home. The owner usually asked, "You're late again? Armand by?" And he always replied with a small, tired smile. This routine helped him feel grounded, even if life felt empty. But one evening, something unusual caught his attention. As he walked past the bus stop, he noticed a young girl sitting alone on the bench. Her clothes were neat but dusty, her hair tangled from the wind, and her face red from crying. She kept wiping her eyes with the sleeve of her shirt, trying not to break down again. People passed by, some looking for a moment, others ignoring her completely. But Armand slowed his steps. He paused for a moment, unsure if he should go closer. He never interfered in other people's matters, but something about her trembling hands and frightened expression made him stop. She reminded him of his own daughter, if he had been blessed with one. His heart softened. He walked a little closer and spoke gently. "Are you all right? Do you need help?" The girl looked up quickly, startled. Her eyes were filled with tears, fear, and exhaustion. She tried to speak, but her voice broke. She shook her head, trying to show she was fine, even though she clearly was. Armand didn't move any closer. He kept a respectful distance. "You seem upset," he said softly. "If you need anything, water, food, someone to call can help." Hearing his calm tone, the girl finally took a shaky breath. I don't know what to do," she whispered. Her voice sounded young, but not childish. She was clearly around 18 or 19. "My name is Armand," he said. "Don't worry, I'm not here to trouble you. Just tell me if you need any help." She hesitated for a long moment, then said, "I'm Aisha," nodded gently. "Okay, Aisha, tell me what happened." At first, she tried to stay quiet, afraid of trusting anyone. But after a minute, she finally spoke slowly, one sentence at a time. Like she was forcing the words out because she had no strength left. "I left home because my parents want me to move to another city," she said. "They said I should stop studying. They want to arrange something for me. I don't want that. I want to continue my education." She wiped her eyes again, embarrassed but desperate to be understood. "My father told me I had no choice," she continued. "They packed my bags and said I had to leave today. I didn't know what to do. I got scared. So I ran away." Armand listened without interrupting. Her words were heavy with fear and confusion. She looked exhausted, like she had been sitting there for hours. "Do you have someone you can call?" Armand asked. "A friend? A teacher? Anyone who can help you right now?" She shook her head. "My phone battery died, and I don't have anyone close. Only one friend, but she lives in another city." Armand understood the seriousness of her situation. A 19-year-old girl sitting alone at a bus stop at dusk was not safe, but he also knew he couldn't simply take her somewhere himself. It wouldn't be appropriate, and it wouldn't be safe for her. He thought for a moment, then said, "There is a women's shelter not far from here. They help girls and women who need a safe place for a night. It's run by responsible people. If you want, I can take you there. But only if you're comfortable." Aisha looked up with a mixture of relief and doubt. "A shelter. Is it safe?" "Yes," he answered. "It's a proper place with staff, social workers, and security. They can contact your parents and handle things the right way. You shouldn't stay alone here." She thought for a long moment. She didn't know Armand, but his tone felt calm, honest, and reassuring. He wasn't pushing her. He wasn't asking personal questions, and he wasn't trying to make decisions for her. He simply offered help. "Okay," she whispered. "Please, take me there." Armand nodded. "All right. But let's get you some water first." He went to a small shop nearby and bought a bottle of water and a packet of biscuits for her. She thanked him in a quiet voice, holding the bottle with trembling hands. After she ate a little, they walked toward the shelter. Armand made sure to walk a little ahead, so she didn't feel uncomfortable. When they reached the shelter, the guard looked at them curiously, and Armand explained the situation to the staff. The women on duty immediately took Aisha inside, speaking gently and guiding her with care. They asked her basic information and assured her she would be safe. Before going inside, Aisha turned and looked at Armand. Her eyes were still red from crying, but now there was relief in them. "Thank you," she said quietly. I didn't know anyone would help me today." Armand shook his head lightly. "You don't have to thank me. I'm glad you're safe. The people here will take care of you." She managed a small, grateful smile, one that looked like the first real smile she had given all day. The staff told Armand, "We will handle everything from here. Thank you for bringing her." Armand nodded politely and stepped back. He felt a strange mix of heaviness and lightness. Heavy because seeing someone so young in distress reminded him of how fragile life could be. Light because he felt he had done something meaningful for the first time in many months. As he walked home, he kept thinking about Aisha's fearful eyes and trembling hands. He wondered how much pressure she must have been under to run away like that. Her story echoed in his mind like a voice he couldn't ignore. When he reached home, opened the door to his small living room, and felt the familiar silence. The photos of his late wife smiled softly from the wall. For the first time in a long while, he spoke out loud in the empty room. "I hope she stays safe," he murmured. He made himself a cup of tea and sat near the window. The night breeze brushed against the curtains, and he closed his eyes. Helping Aisha had stirred something he thought had died inside him, a sense of purpose, a feeling of responsibility, a reminder that small acts of kindness could still matter. He didn't sleep much that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he pictured Aisha sitting alone at the bus stop, scared and lost. He knew the shelter would care for her, but he couldn't stop worrying. The next morning before going to work, he called the shelter to check if she was all right. The staff told him she was safe, resting, and talking to a counselor. They thanked him again for bringing her in before nightfall. Hearing that eased his heart a little at work. He tried to focus on repairing a car engine, but his mind kept returning to the same thought. If he had walked past her like everyone else, what would have happened to her? That question troubled him deeply. Aisha, meanwhile, woke up early in the shelter dormitory. She sat on the small bed, hugging her knees, feeling a strange combination of fear and relief. She remembered Armand's steady voice, his calm presence, and the way he kept a respectful distance. He had treated her like a human being in distress, not like a burden or a problem. For the first time since leaving home, she felt safe. A counselor met her later that morning and asked her to explain everything. Aisha spoke slowly, sharing her fear of losing her education, her independence, and her dreams. She admitted she ran away because she didn't know how to face the pressure at home. The counselor listened carefully and told her they would contact her parents and try to mediate the situation. Aisha didn't know what would happen next, but she knew one thing clearly. Yesterday could have ended in a very different way if Armand hadn't stopped to help her. That simple act, just one moment of kindness from a struggling widower, had changed the direction of her life. And though neither of them knew it yet, this unexpected meeting would soon become a turning point for both. The next few days passed slowly for Armand. He continued working at the mechanic shop, fixing cars and helping customers. But his mind kept drifting back to Aisha. He didn't know why he was thinking about her so much. Maybe it was because she reminded him of how fragile life could be. Maybe it was because he understood what fear and helplessness felt like. Or maybe it was simply because helping her had awakened a part of him he'd ignored for too long, the part that cared deeply for others. Every evening, he wondered whether she was safe, whether her family had been contacted, whether things were improving for her. He didn't want to interfere in her personal matters, but he felt responsible in some small way. After all, he had been the one who found her alone at the bus stop. On the third day, he finally built the courage to call the shelter again. His voice was calm, but his chest felt tight. "I just wanted to check on Aisha," he said. The girl I brought in 2 nights ago. Is she doing all right? The staff member recognized him immediately. Yes, sir. She's safe. She had a meeting with our counselor again today. Her parents have been contacted. They are cooperating, but things will take time. Armand nodded, even though the staff couldn't see him. Good, that's good to hear. Before ending the call, the staff member added, Aisha asked, if you came by or called. She said she wanted to thank you again. That sentence stayed in Armand's mind long after the call ended. Later that afternoon, a light rain began to fall outside the mechanic's shop. Armand stood under the shade, watching raindrops hit the dusty road. Each drop seemed to carry away a little bit of his heaviness. He remembered how troubled Aisha looked on the first day and how relieved she was when she found help. He hoped that her situation would resolve soon. Meanwhile, Aisha's days in the shelter were a mix of fear, confusion, and hope. She spent most of her time speaking with the counselor, who asked her questions in a gentle way. They talked about her dreams, her education, and what she wanted for her future. For the first time in weeks, someone was listening to her, but she also felt a growing worry about her parents. She loved them deeply, but she couldn't accept the pressure they put on her. She knew they wanted what they believed was best, but they had not asked what she wanted. The counselor helped her organize her thoughts so she could express them calmly when the time came to speak with her family in the evenings. Aisha sat by the window in the shelter hallway, looking at the sky turning orange and pink. She often thought about Armand. She remembered his respectful distance, his calm voice, and how he didn't ask anything from her. He didn't judge her. He simply helped her because he saw someone in need. It had been a long time since she felt safe around someone she didn't know. She wished she could thank him again, properly. One morning, after she finished a counseling session, the shelter manager approached her with news. Your parents have agreed to come tomorrow for a meeting, she said kindly. We will sit together and discuss everything in a safe environment. Aisha felt her stomach twist. She wanted things to improve, but she feared confrontation. She sat down slowly, breathing deeply. The manager continued, You won't be alone. We'll guide the whole conversation. Aisha nodded silently. She knew this moment was important. That night, she lay awake thinking about the upcoming meeting. To calm her nerves, she thought about Armand, again the stranger who had stepped in at the right moment. She whispered softly into the quiet room, I hope I get to tell him thank you again. The next day arrived with a cool breeze. The shelter prepared a small office for the meeting with Aisha's parents. When they arrived, they looked worried, anxious, and a little ashamed. They had spent the last few days searching for their daughter, thinking deeply about their decisions. The counselor invited Aisha to join them. She walked in with slow steps, her hands trembling slightly, but her face steady. Her mother immediately stood up and hugged her. Aisha Beta, we were so scared. Why did you run away? Aisha hugged her back, but didn't speak at first. Then she took a deep breath. I didn't want to run away, she said quietly, but I felt like I wasn't being heard. You wanted to send me away, stop my studies, and I wasn't ready. I want to finish college. I want a chance to build my future. Her father lowered his eyes. The counselor gently encouraged him, Please listen to her completely. Aisha continued, I know you care about me. I know you want to protect me. But making decisions for me without asking what I want, it scared me. I felt powerless. Her mother wiped her tears. Her father finally spoke. We thought we were doing the right thing, he said slowly. We didn't understand how much it was hurting you. The counselor explained the importance of giving Aisha space to grow and allowing her to make decisions about her education. They talked for almost an hour. Voices never rose. No one accused each other. Instead, the room filled with a slow and gentle understanding. By the end of the meeting, her parents agreed to let her continue her studies. They promised not to force her into decisions she didn't want. They apologized for the pressure they put on her. Aisha cried not from sadness, but from relief. She hugged her parents again, and for the first time in weeks, she felt hopeful about going home. But before leaving the shelter, she asked the manager one question. Can I meet Armand again? I want to thank him properly. The manager smiled. Of course, We can call him. When Armin received the call, he was surprised. He wiped his hands on a cloth, leaving black grease marks behind, and held the phone to his ear. Armin, sir, Aisha wants to meet you before she leaves with her family. Can you come? Armin felt a rush of emotions, concern, relief, and something he couldn't name. Of course, I'll be there in half an hour. He cleaned himself quickly, changed his shirt, and headed toward the shelter. As he walked through the gate, he felt strangely nervous, like he was entering a moment he had been subconsciously waiting for. Aisha stood near the entrance with the shelter staff. When she saw Armin walk in, her eyes brightened instantly. Her parents watched silently as she stepped forward. Assalamu alaikum, she said softly. Thank you for coming. Walaikum assalam, Armin replied with a calm smile. I'm glad you're all right. Her voice trembled slightly as she spoke. You helped me when I didn't know what to do. I was scared and I felt alone. If you hadn't stopped that day, I don't know what would have happened. Thank you for helping me reach a safe place. Armin nodded gently. Anyone would have helped. Aisha shook her head. No. Many people saw me crying that day. You were the only one who stopped. Her parents approached Armin with humility. Her father said, we didn't know everything she was feeling. We thank you for guiding her to safety. Armin responded politely. I only brought her here. The shelter staff did the real work. And I'm glad you're all together now. The moment was emotional but peaceful. Aisha felt lighter than she had in days. Her parents stood beside her, understanding her more clearly now. After a few more words of gratitude, the family prepared to leave. Aisha looked at Armin once more and said, I won't forget your kindness, Armin, sir. You gave me courage when I had none, Armin replied softly, and you showed strength when it mattered. I'm proud of you. Those words touched her deeply. As the family walked away, Armin stood at the shelter gate, watching them leave. He felt something warm in his chest, not sadness, not emptiness, but a quiet satisfaction. Helping Aisha had not only changed her life, it had brought a new sense of meaning to his own. That evening, Armin returned home with a lighter heart. The silence in his house didn't feel as heavy. The tea tasted warmer. The shadows on the walls looked softer. For the first time in a long while, he felt that maybe he wasn't meant to live in loneliness forever. He had helped a young girl regain her future. But he didn't know yet that this small act of kindness would guide him toward a new purpose he never expected. The days that followed felt different for Armin. Something inside him had shifted quietly. He no longer carried the same heaviness when he walked to work. The morning air felt fresher, and the world around him looked a little brighter. It wasn't because all his problems had disappeared, they were still there. The emptiness of his home, the memories of his late wife, the long hours at the shop, none of that had changed, but helping. Aisha had done something simple, yet powerful. It reminded him that he could still make a difference in someone's life. Meanwhile, Aisha returned home with her parents. Their relationship wasn't perfect overnight, but they were trying. Her father became quieter, listening more. Her mother checked on her studies instead of her decisions. Aisha attended college again, slowly finding her routine. But one thing stayed the same. She did not forget Armin. A few weeks later, the shelter organized a small event for volunteers and donors. They called it Day of Kindness. The manager called Armin personally. We remember how you helped Aisha, she said warmly. We are inviting people who made a difference this year. Would you like to join? Armin hesitated. He wasn't the type of man who liked events or attention. But the shelter had become important to him in a quiet way. Yes, he finally said. I'll come. He didn't know Aisha and her family had also been invited. The event took place on a Sunday afternoon. The shelter courtyard was decorated with small flags, paper flowers, and a large banner that read, Small acts of kindness can change lives. Armin arrived early, wearing a simple, clean shirt. He didn't look any different from his usual self. But something about his steady posture made him stand out as a man who carried both pain and strength together. The shelter staff greeted him warmly. We're happy you came. Armin, sir, one of them said. Armin smiled politely. I'm happy to see everyone doing good work. He spent the first few minutes looking around quietly. He saw families talking, volunteers laughing, and children running around the courtyard. The place felt alive, filled with hope and human warmth. Then he heard a familiar voice behind him. "Armin, sir." He turned around, and there stood Aisha. She looked stronger, now more confident, more stable. Her eyes no longer carried fear. Instead, they carried gratitude and calmness. Her parents stood a few steps behind her, smiling respectfully. Armand greeted her with a warm nod. "Aisha, it's good to see you." "It's good to see you too," she replied with a gentle smile. "How have you been?" "Busy," he said simply. "Work keeps me occupied." Her mother stepped forward. "We wanted to thank you again," she said softly. "Aisha has been doing very well. She's focused on her studies again," Aisha added. "I got good marks in my recent test." There was pride in her voice, a pride that had been missing the day he first saw her at the bus stop. "That's good," Armand replied. "I knew you would do well." Her father, who had once struggled to understand his daughter's feelings, now looked calmer. "Your help opened our eyes," he admitted. "We realize we need to support our daughter, not control her." Armand appreciated their honesty. He didn't want praise, but their words felt sincere. The shelter manager approached them. "Since all of you are here, I want to show something." She guided them to a small corner where a board displayed photos and messages from different women who had stayed at the shelter during the year. Aisha's picture was there too, next to a card she had written, "Someone helped me when I needed it most. That kindness changed my path. I hope to do the same for others one day." Armand read the message slowly. He didn't know what to say. He felt surprised, humbled, and deeply moved. Aisha looked at him and said softly, "That message is for people like you." Armand cleared his throat. "I only did what anyone should." Aisha shook her head gently. "Not everyone stops to help." Her words stayed with him. After the event, something new happened. Aisha stayed in touch with Armand, but not in a troubling or dependent way. She contacted him only occasionally, sending a polite text like, "Hope your workday went well. Armin, sir." Or, "I passed another exam. Thank you for encouraging me." Armand always replied in the same simple, respectful manner, "Good job. Keep going. We're proud of your hard work." He never overstepped. She never crossed boundaries. Their bond was clean, safe, and supportive, more like that of a mentor and a younger sister or daughter figure, as weeks turned into months. Aisha grew brighter in her studies. Armin slowly began healing from the loneliness he had carried for so long. One evening, the shelter manager visited Armin's shop. She had a request. "Armin, sir, we want to start a small weekend program for young people, basic skills like repairing things, using tools safely, and understanding practical work. Many girls and boys want to learn. Would you be interested in teaching once a week?" Armand was surprised. "Me? Teaching?" "Yes," she said. "Your calm nature will help them learn. You already inspired one young person." Armand looked down for a moment. He thought of Aisha, how she had found strength again, how she had encouraged him without realizing it. "All right," he said softly. "I'll help." That was the beginning of something new, the first day of the weekend workshop. Armin stood in the shelter's small, open garage space. A few young people gathered, some shy, some excited. Aisha was there too, helping organize tools and guiding the new participants. When she saw Armand, she waved. "Welcome, sir." Armin smiled. "Let's start." He taught simple skills: how to check a tire, how to tighten bolts safely, how to handle tools with care. The young learners listened with interest. Aisha assisted quietly, handing out tools, arranging chairs, and helping anyone who got confused. By the end of the class, several students came to thank him. "Sir, I've never learned this before. This is useful. Can we come again next week?" Armand felt something warm inside, something he had forgotten he could. Feel big purpose, not the heavy responsibility of survival, but the lighter, more meaningful feeling of being useful. As the weeks continued, the workshop grew. More students joined. Some came from difficult homes, some from broken backgrounds, and some simply wanted to learn practical skills. Armin treated all of them with the same gentle patience he had shown Aisha the first day he met her. Aisha often watched him while he taught. She admired his calmness, his kindness, and the honesty in his actions. He had lost so much in his life, yet he still chose to help others. That inspired her. She started volunteering at the shelter regularly, guiding younger girls, helping staff, and studying harder than ever. Armin didn't know it, but Aisha often told others. He helped me believe in myself. Aisha's life moved forward. She completed her semester with high marks. She received a small scholarship for her good performance. Her relationship with her parents grew stronger. They communicated more openly now, sitting together in the evenings and discussing her goals. One day her mother said, "We are proud of the woman you are becoming." Aisha's eyes filled with tears, happy ones this time. Armin's life also changed quietly. The workshop gave him something to look forward to every week. The silence in his home felt less painful. He even placed a new photo frame on his shelf, a picture of the workshop group smiling on the first day. It reminded him that he could still create positive moments in the world. Nearly a year after the day, he found Aisha at the bus stop. The shelter celebrated another day of kindness, this time. Armin was invited not as a visitor, but as a mentor and volunteer. Aisha also attended. Now, a confident second-year student with clear goals and a bright energy around her. When the shelter manager gave a short speech, she said, "This year many lives were changed again." One story reminds us that kindness can travel in circles. A young girl received help from a stranger, and today, she helps others. A widower found new purpose, and today, he guides many young people. Small actions can create big changes. People clapped. Aisha looked at Armin with a warm, grateful smile. Armin looked back with a gentle nod of pride. They didn't need many words. Their connection was built on respect, human decency, the quiet understanding that they had both helped each other heal in different ways. He had rescued her from fear. She had rescued him from loneliness. And neither of them had expected it. As the sun set that evening, Armin walked home with peaceful steps. He no longer felt like a man stuck in grief. He felt like someone who had rediscovered his place in the world. Aisha stood with her parents, watching him leave. She whispered softly, "Some people come into your life only once, but they change everything." She was right. The day he stopped to help a frightened 19-year-old girl, Armin had not only changed her future, he had unknowingly rewritten his own.